Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, we're going to talk about the latest developments in the killing of Patrick Lyoya. The officer has been identified by the chief of police in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We're going to break that down to give you the name as well as some of the new developments in the case. Also, guns are the leading cause of death for young people. This was the big report that came out of the Centers for Disease Control. We check in with Darnell Wharton of the Baltimore Ceasefire Movement to give us some insight as to why gun violence is so prevalent, especially among the next generation. We will have that conversation. And then, folks, at the 4 o'clock hour, let's talk about why did we stop believing that people can change? This is another one of those cultural conversations about the idea of redemption. We're going to get into that discussion. And later, we talk about what Viola Davis has to say to her critics of her performance as First Lady Michelle Obama in the new show that's airing on Starz. So we're going to have that conversation as well. So we got a lot to get to. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday. We got a lot to get to, so I'm ready to jump right in, folks. The big conversation are coming out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. It has been told by the chief of police there, the officer who was responsible for the killing of Patrick Lyoya is Christopher Scher. Folks, this is the officer's name. This was the officer that, for a routine quote-unquote traffic stop on April the 4th, took the life of Patrick Lyoya, unfortunately, shooting him while he was face down in the back of the head. Now, the chief of police said these words. Keenan, let's post this, what the chief said there in Grand Rapids. He said, quote, "In the interest of transparency, to reduce ongoing speculation and to avoid any further confusion, I am confirming the name already publicly circulating, Christopher Scher, as the officer involved in the April 4th officer-involved shooting. Beginning this week, as required by law, the Grand Rapids Police Department will be releasing documents in response to requests made under the Freedom of Information Act relative to this incident." The chief also said that Officer Scher remains on administrative leave, stripped of his police powers until the conclusion of the Michigan State Police investigation into potential criminal charges and the completion of the Grand Rapids Police Department's internal affairs investigation to determine whether all applicable departmental policies were followed. And again, that it comes from the Grand Rapids Chief of Police, Chief Eric Winstrom. And Chief Winstrom is saying, if you remember, Chief Winstrom said that the officer's name would not be made public until an investigation was started. So now we are at that place of finding out who killed Patrick Lyoya. I want to bring in my culture crew that we see on Tuesday. So happy to have these ladies to join me in this discussion. We are joined by Iman Heath, who is an entrepreneur and activist, and Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast that can be heard on all streaming platforms. Iman, Lise, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us once again.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to start with you on this one, Iman, because I know that police brutality cases and just police brutality is something that you're very passionate about. You've been talking about this issue across the, looking at various incidents across the country. How do you think the Grand Rapids Police Department has been handling this killing of Patrick Lyoya with just releasing the name days? I mean, today is the 26th, and it just became known 22 days later that we know the name of the officer.
So I understand them wanting to be able to protect the officer. I get that. I understand it. And I do understand they want to be transparent as far as the civilians, so it won't turn into chaos. So it's appreciated that they're
Iman, I want you to stop right here. I just want to make sure. Hold on, just looks like we're just having just some technical difficulties. We were just having some technical difficulties with Iman's audio, so we're going to work on that very, very quickly. Iman, hold your thought, but we're going to jump right back to you. Let me go to Lise. Lise, what's your reaction to the fact that we're 22 days later after the killing of Patrick, that we're just finding out who actually killed him?
I think, of course, we need to do better when it comes to being transparent and making sure that we get the names out and the information out to the public as soon as possible. However, when I looked into it, it looks like in Michigan, this is a policy to withhold employees, state employees, information when things happen. So this isn't something that's abnormal. So instead of really just looking at the police department, we need to look at the entire state at this point, because this is their policy of something that they typically do when something bad happens. So we do need to make sure that we're getting this information out there quickly and that you are building the trust in the community. It's a sad situation all the way around, but one of the things that we can do in order to improve relations with the public is to be transparent. So in this case, it was a little slower than normal, but we can't just look at the police department. We also have to look at the state as a whole, since this is their policy.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I mean, I guess they're trying to, and like you said, I guess they're trying to protect state workers, and I think that's just across the board, not just happening in the police department. But the chief, I think he recognized, and he said this in his statement that we just shared, the level of speculation. It already feels like there might be a cover up, and I think that is one of the big concerns that a lot of people have about this whole case. Is like, are you trying to protect the man that took this black man's life senselessly? Do you get that? Do you get that same impression, Lise?
I actually feel like so far they've given, because we got the body cam footage, so we have that.
Yeah.
They've been a little slow to release his, but we kind of already knew his name because of the footage. So I feel like there's some improvement in the way that they're handling this situation. Of course, are there things that they could have done faster and better? Yes. But we do have at least that, because in a lot of these cases, they try to withhold that body camera footage, or they don't have their cameras on, or whatever the case may be. And this time, we actually do have it. And I've watched the full footage of this situation, an unfortunate situation.
Yeah. Let me bring Iman back into the conversation. Iman, what's your take of this, about the releasing of the name and just how Grand Rapids Police Department has been handling this whole case?
They're doing so far, I would say, to satisfy both sides as far as protecting the officer as well, because he still is a part of, their team, what I call. They're protecting both sides. They're doing a pretty good job protecting both sides. Wanting to be transparent, that's awesome, but let's speed this up. Why is it 20 plus days later just now getting a name? Why do we have to wait that long for a name? Why is it assumed that, of course, they're assumed innocent until proven guilty. However, if you have video footage, that's the part I can't get past in a lot of these unfortunate fatalities. What more do we need? It's a video. Like, you see it. Like, I that's the part I'm still flabbergasted about. You see it. So let's speed this up. Let's speed it up.
Well, one of the things, Iman, to your point about the videos, one of the things that have talked to lawyers and police officers about was, a lot of these, like you said, in a lot of these cases, whether you're talking about from Sandra Bland or whoever, a lot of these cases, they look at the videos because they're trying to make sure that every protocol was taken from the officer's vantage point, try to put themselves in the officer's shoes. And the slightest thing, and this is the thing about videos, it's like the slightest thing can be interpreted as, something. For example, they say, oh, Patrick turned his back on officer. Sure. Okay.
So a civilian,
So
a civilian who is not a trained officer,
right.
if you own a gun in your home, you cannot. If an intruder is fleeing, is walking away, if you shoot them in the back, you'll be charged.
Right.
So why is it that a trained officer who goes through an academy and goes through intense training, goes through intense testing, doesn't get is not the same? It's not the same in that circumstance. That doesn't make sense. Me as a regular civilian, I don't have any combat training. I don't have any defensive training. So if I have a gun and someone intrudes my home and I shoot them while they're in their back while they're trying to leave, that's I get charged. Why are they not held the same way? It doesn't make sense.
No, I think in this situation though is slightly different. So he wasn't actually running away. If the
back of his head is facing that officer, what is the difference? What's the difference? If the back is turned, what's the difference?
So I think this one is going to be one of those ones where we're going to really have to look at each and every point of view in this particular situation, because he did have his hand on it. Like there is no, like he didn't not have the taser. The taser was in his hand and they were fighting over the taser. Now, should he have pulled the gun? Probably not. But at this point, it's like, what else do we expect the officer to do? So was the officer supposed to let him get the taser and then back up and hope he doesn't tase him? Or I think this is a little nuanced. And I think when we look at these situations, sometimes all of them don't fall in the same category. And I'm not saying that's in this case, but we do have to look at how do we make this better so that this doesn't happen the next time when you're looking at the situation where there was struggle. So what was the officer, and this is a question, what was the officer, the next step should have been, in your opinion?
Rather than they're trained, unfortunately, they're trained to aim for send a match. They're not there to injure, they're there to kill. Unfortunately, I'm not a police officer, never been through the training. However, through my education, I would say the next step, if they have the taser, you can't reload it, but once it's discharged, it can't be charged again. So I would at least try to shoot the taser, not at myself, but if we're tussling, shoot it. It can't be, he can't put it back in and shoot him again. So at least not shoot him in the head. I know that much.
Well, officers, unfortunately, they're not sharpshooters, and we get this from movie like I'm Mike Lowry, that they can do all of these things that they can do when they can't. Like most of them never shoot a gun ever. So they're not really that great at being able to aim and to do all of these things we expect them to be able to do. And I think that's what we need to do. Maybe, I don't know, in the situation where the de-escalation could have taken place, because again, he did ask him to, get back in the car. He did not. He ran. I'm just trying to figure out ways where, when we're looking at this situation, to not be a deadly situation. This is somebody's son. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want those things to happen. But what could have been done in this situation in order to make sure that things are better?
Shoot to injure and not to kill. Or we have to also think about our PTSD that seems like that we're now growing into. Black men, period. If a police officer pulls them over, I can see why they would flee. I can see why they would be scared or afraid or react the way they do. I don't want to be shot. If we have to go back to who's gonna get shot first, of course I'm gonna make sure I don't get shot first. Of course. But it's been years and years and years and years now of the same results, of the same actions, and nothing per usual changes. So we also have to consider that black man's mindset, where that black man is feeling. Where was his mental at when he got pulled over? As if we haven't seen men get killed, black men get killed senselessly by officers for years now.
What do we not hear, Farajii?
We have audio.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. No, we just wanted to say that I think, to both of your points, I mean, I think they're going to both schools of thought that you both presented, I think that's going to be, looked at in this whole situation. That's why the video is important, because even though it may seem black and white to us, to law enforcement officials and to to court officials, they say, oh, it may not be as black and white. Now, I think that Officer Scher definitely could have used a different option. Even with the taser being rustled and all of those things, he was on the man's back. The man was face down in the grass. Where's the threat?
Did you watch the video before they got? He had the taser before they got on the ground. Like this
Right.
started up. They were up, and then he had him, and he was trying to put the handcuffs on him. Then he got out of that, and then he got the taser, and then they started to tussle over the taser. So I think that you have to watch the full video in order to get a better understanding of what actually took place. So I think that this is going to be one of those situations, unfortunately, you know, where a lot of people are going to be upset by the outcome, because
you don't think he's going to be criminally charged?
I would be shocked if he was. I would be shocked. And okay. I think for the family, I hope that there can be some, I mean, that you can't bring back their son. So I think that would probably be the, you know, best case scenario for the family. But there has to be something done where we don't constantly keep having the same situation over and over and over. It appears that this keeps happening, and we don't want it to get to the point where people do not think that we need any type of law enforcement. We don't need it where it's the law enforcement against the public. So we do need to change the rules and standards. Maybe you are right. Maybe they shouldn't carry weapons at all. Like, I don't know what the next step should be, but we do need to look at this situation for what it is. And this situation, unfortunately, is just a really, really, I don't know any other words to say except for it is truly unfortunate in the way that it played out for Mr. Lyoya.
Now let's talk about this other part. In Kent County, the commissioner, Robert Womack, he said that they're very happy that the name has been released, but he said what we need to know if he's been, and talking about Officer Scher, if he's been interviewed yet, because we knew after 10 days he had still not been interviewed. So just policies that allow an officer involved shooting to go 72 hours before the officer can be interviewed, and even extend up to 10 days, those are policy that definitely needs to be changed. So in the state of Michigan, officers can still take up to 10 days before they can be interviewed, which is absolutely insane, because, Iman, to your point, if you are a civilian, you don't have that much time to get your story together, to retain a lawyer. I mean, we see the same policy happening in Maryland. It's just too much leeway, I think, that gives officers too much protection in a case like this. If this officer has not been interviewed within the past, I don't know, we're 22 days since the killing. If he hasn't been interviewed within that first 10 days, like, that is criminal. That's absolutely insane to me, that you have such a high profile case and you did not even interview the officer. If they say that after 10 days, the officer still hasn't been interviewed, I mean, what is the issue? And here's my concern, Lise, about your point. My concern is when you get to the technicalities of what happened in that interaction, the technicalities are the things that get officers walking home and get officers off. That's my concern. It's not a concern about killing a man. The concern is about protocol. Did you do at this moment, what did you do? At that moment, what you do? And at this moment, what kind of response did his actions warrant from you? And it gets so technical that you lose sight of the fact that he killed this man in the front lawn with his head, with a gun to his head. That's my concern.
Yeah, but I agree with that. And again, we shouldn't get killed in an interaction with a police officer. I never am saying that is in fact the case. But what I'm saying is that those technical things do matter. I mean, it hurts us to say that, but they do matter. They are facts.
No,
like the facts is that this officer sure killed a man. That is a fact, but it's also a fact that there were things that led up to this situation. So those are all the things that are necessary and needed. Hopefully, like I said, there is something that can be done, like changing of those policies. No, he shouldn't have had that much time. Things should have been speeded up a lot quicker, where we knew his name they were interviewing him and all of these things happen a lot quicker, but we can't ignore actual facts because it doesn't fit into the story all the time that we want to tell. So we need both.
No, we actually need both. I want to share with folks what people are saying on our chat. This is from YouTube, Bachar Music. I hope I'm saying that correctly. They're saying mace does exist. I don't know why police haven't used mace. We talked about the taser. We certainly know about the gun, but why not use the mace? Mace does exist. I got that. And, you know, Juvik said, take away guns from the public, then only have specialist armed police.
Take away guns from each officer and then only have certain officers with guns, perhaps.
This says take away guns from the public. I don't know if that means us, the civilians, the general public.
Okay. That's not going to go down too well here.
I don't know.
Not here.
Yeah. Mike V said, not interviewing him until post 10 days is negligence in evidence collection and the chain of custody. I agree. I agree. Like 10 I think 10 days is far too long. What we were trying to do in Maryland, 7 years ago, we were trying to at least compromise. We were like, okay, let's not do 10, let's do 5. Let's cut that time down. Nope. That didn't change the policy. And this is part of the law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights. If you look that up, folks, the law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights, that's the policy that a lot of these police departments use. It was instituted back in the 70s, and now it is like the Bible for police departments on how to deal with situations like this. Independent said they need to interview and lock him up ASAP. Absolutely. I think they need to lock him up, but we will have to see. Also, Independent say the gun will do more damage than a taser. And I think that to the point of, you know, the taser thing, we saw this with the other case, and the name escapes me, where the officer said, "Oh, taser, taser, taser," and then winds up shooting and killing. I think it's the case of Dante Wright. I
think that is a totally different situation. At no point did he grab.
Here's what I'm saying.
Wrong on that.
Here's what I'm saying. That I don't know if officers are using that as an excuse by saying taser, he's got my taser, that they're using it as an excuse to pull out the gun. Like, okay, he got one weapon, let me use the other weapon. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you watch that, I don't know if you guys actually have not the clips, but the full video, you actually see he has the taser in his hand, both of them. So it's not like he's not yelling taser. He's saying they're fighting over this taser. So it could be fear, like, you know, Iman said that he didn't want to be tased or what. We don't know. But
what about? Here's the other thing, and maybe if I'm wrong on this. And Iman, you know, get your take on this. What about the just regular hand-to-hand combat? What about punching a dude in the face? I mean, I'm not trying to be silly about it. I'm serious. Like, what about? I mean, look, they had the chokehold is a restricted in the state. When we saw Eric Garner get, you know, he was put into the chokehold. That, of course, that was one part of the reason he died. But the fact is, hand-to-hand combat. Like, if you're in a situation like that, you mean to tell me the only option that you have is I'm going to pull out my gun? Like, you don't have no hand-to-hand combat training?
I will say, just to be the devil's advocate, if they go to hand-to-hand combat, the only concern I could think of for an officer is, okay, what if he grabs my gun? Or what if I fall and slip and he grabs my gun? I can understand as to why they wouldn't want to do hand-to-hand combat. But what I don't understand, why wouldn't an officer be trained to injure or hurt rather than kill? Especially when you're in such a close range, that doesn't make sense.
So when you say injured to hurt, right? Like, for example, and this is what I was taught, it's much easier to shoot, quote-unquote, center mass than it is to shoot a man in his leg. That
is true. But when you're in close range, Let's think about this.
Right.
I've been to the gun range enough times. You don't have to be. it's easier to shoot with the target close to you than further away. So if he's already on his back, I'm sorry, he's face down, and right. you're on his back. Like what? Like he's right there. Like it's no way. How could you miss the arm or miss the leg if you're that close?
I don't know.
If you're that close range, there's nobody else you can hit in the background. There's no other, nothing can ricochet.
I mean, part of me, hey, look, I think to that point, Iman, I think part of that is just, look, let's keep it real. And at least you said this at the beginning of the conversation. This ain't Mike Lowry. You know, when we see Hollywood and their portrayal of police, we see The Rock, we see Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? We see people that are physically fit.
Right.
This guy was not a physically fit guy.
Yeah.
Police officers, unfortunately, they're not all physically fit. So they're not trying to have no heart. And I had to think about this. They ain't trying to go hand to hand. Ain't trying to do wrestling for 2 to 3. You know, if you fight somebody for 3 minutes straight, I mean, there's a reason why in boxing it's like 3 minutes break, right? Because that's a lot of energy you exerting. So I'm saying that all of that to say is that some of these officers are not physically fit.
Mm-hmm.
To take on some of these guys that they're going through. They not busting through no windows. They not, you know what I'm saying, going through the doors. They not jumping over cars. I mean, that's Hollywood stuff. Stuff. These guys are like, man, bump that. I'm about to take out the gun and I'm gonna just let it off. And I'm gonna we stopping this whole situation. You're not going 4 or 5 minutes with a police officer handling him on the ground because come on, that's everybody is not a punk. Everybody's not a weakling. If you go hand to hand with some police officers might actually lose.
Right.
So to keep the power dynamic in place, the gun is used.
That's right. The part, Farajii. To keep the power dynamic. You hit the nail on the head. The power dynamic. That's it.
Yeah.
Let an officer it's recorded. And I've seen it in Baltimore a few times. I've seen officers lose to civilians on the street, but let that circulate and it becomes viral. You know how many people would lose even more respect for the police? So yes, it's a power dynamic. It's a power dynamic. I
have seen it. I have seen video where officers have lost hand-to-hand combats. They've been thrown to the ground. They've been punched on. I've seen it. And it's embarrassing, and you're absolutely right. It loses, the department loses. And I don't think the department truly advocates. And a lot of these departments, I don't think they advocate for that. I think they advocate use of taser, mace, or gun. I don't think if you got to get to hand-to-hand combat, you better be Floyd Mayweather or somebody out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. You better be, and I'm not trying to make jokes. I'm just simply saying, I don't think, because these officers aren't as physically fit as they put themselves out there to be. Ladies, I got to stop this part of the conversation. We will see how this whole situation will play out. Now, folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, speaking about guns, let's have a conversation about how guns are the number one of the leading cause of death for young people between the ages of 1 and 19, according to the Centers for Disease Control's latest report. This was the report that came out last year. We'll have a discussion with Darnell Wharton, who serves as the co-founder of the ceasefire movement in Baltimore, and how we can stop the violence with handguns and other firearms. So stay close. We got a whole lot to get to in the second half hour of The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back. It has been determined by the Centers for Disease Control in a new report that firearms, gun violence is now the leading cause of death in America. Folks, take a look at these stats as we post them here, Keenan. Firearms became the leading cause of death among children and teenagers in the United States in 2020, according to new research using data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The findings comes after a record number of 45,222 people have died from firearm-related injuries in 2020 in the U.S., according to a letter published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Most of the deaths were from firearm homicide. Also, researchers from the University of Michigan noted that an alarming number of the deaths, 10,186, which was 22.5%, were people ages 1 to 19. For more than 60 years, motor vehicle accidents had been the leading cause of death of young people, but since 2001, the number of those deaths have dramatically decreased. There were about 3,900 deaths in 2020. Meanwhile, firearm-related deaths have been on the rise since 2013. There was a 29.5% increase from 2019 to 2020. Wow. So we are now at this point, folks, and that information was, again, from the report that the Centers for Disease Control put out. But we're now at this point in this country where we're looking at firearm-related injuries. We're looking at gun violence as being the number one cause of death, especially among young people. And this is why we invited our next guest, who is the co-founder of the ceasefire movement in Baltimore, Darnell Wharton, to give us some insight about this effort to stop gun violence in cities and counties across the country, to help us in this process. And so we want to welcome it. We got Darnell with us today. There we go, my brother. Darnell, thank you so much, dear brother, for being a part of this conversation.
My brother, how you doing, man? Thank you for having me.
It's good to talk to you, big brother. It's good to talk to you.
Always.
When we talk about this, I mean, this is, I want to say it's shocking, but maybe it's not shocking. Maybe this is like a very big wake-up call that this country needs to know that our fascination with guns, our love of violence is leading to the slaughter of our children mostly?
It's so I'm not going to say it's shocking, because if you live in a city where we have multiple murders a year, like over 200-300 here in Baltimore, we're having over 300. It's not shocking. It's just when you see it across the country and you say, okay, it's not just happening here, it's happening everywhere. You start to think about what's actually happening in the world that's causing this mass, like, violent nature amongst the people that live here. So you start to think on the terms of, where are we and where did this come from? So I have to put out there, and I know it's going to step on a lot of people's toes, that the country that Black people are in right now, or Latino people are in, or China, Asian people are in, is a violent nation. USA is a violent nation. Everything that USA has acquired, they've acquired through some type of violence. So when you take people from where they are and where they were, and you put them into a society that's already been violent, the violent nature of your surroundings are eventually going to encompass you in the race that you are. Understandable. Black people were not, as you say, not a violent people. But when we were brought here, we became violent of this type of nature. And you got to go back to when guns started hitting the streets. No Black little boy or Black little girl in the hood was going to where the guns were. They weren't buying guns like that. We weren't going out to wherever the guns were and buying crates of guns. It was brought onto us, the same as drugs were. It wasn't no little kid or drug dealer, whatever you want to call them, was going over to Colombia, buying all these drugs and getting ships and bringing them back to the hood. It was brought to us. So when we start to look at the violence of what's going on, we got to first look at where we are and what we're inside of. Right now, we're inside of a violent nation. Now, when you start to look at that, then you have to look at the plight of the people that are here, the homelessness, the joblessness, the hopelessness, the education, the mental health, the blight, everything that has been a thumb on the neck, or a knee on the neck of Black folk, brown folk, Asian folk, whatever, has entered into that equation. So we have a violent nation. We have people who can't live because of all of these things of hopelessness and violence and everything. And then you add on the fact that, where do we go from here? I have nowhere else to go. So I'm stuck here in this. And right now, every human has a basic what do you say, mind frame to just take care of themselves. Yes, you got a family. Yes, you have friends. But the basic human action of a person is I got to make sure I'm good. And sometimes you get put into a situation where it's either you or me, and I don't want to die. So what am I going to do?
And see, and see, to your point, Brother Darnell, by us being in this violent place, it cultivates an attitude. It cultivates a whole, like you said, a mindset where we are, like, even if you try to be peaceful, even if you say, you know what, I'm gonna walk away, the culture of violence is so heavy on you and is so ingrained in all of us that it makes it hard. Like, you kind of get into this internal conflict because why? You don't want to be seen as a certain type of way. I don't want to seem weak. I don't want to seem like a punk or anything. And it's not just in Black neighborhoods. This is across the country, right?
Across the country. This
is across all, racial, race and ethnicities. This is just across the line. Like, we could talk about Ray in the hood, but then you got Dylan who's shooting up places as well, right? So you got all of these different dynamics. And I think it's funny, brother, that when we have conversations about guns in this country, is always people say, oh, well, it's about access to guns. It's about, making sure that people that are buying guns, they're getting, like the presidents call them ghost guns and all of that stuff.
Right.
But nobody is talking about the fact that the culture is violent, like you mentioned. Nobody is talking about the fact that violence is a part of this country's DNA. Like we're not getting it. Like, look, check this out. Let me just share this with you very quickly. Then we're gonna bring in back our culture crew. The U.S. ratio. Check this out, folks. The U.S. ratio of 120.5 firearms per 100 residents. Check out this statistic. Is up where it used to be 88 firearms per 100 residents in 2011. That ratio alone surpasses any other country on the globe. We are the most violent, yet, quote unquote, supposed to be the most civilized, technologically advanced, culturally sensitive. We are the most violent country on the planet.
The most violent
country. Look, brother, and you probably see this, Donnell. We got more people that have guns in this planet. I mean, in this country, right? That own guns, that have access to guns, than there actually are population of people in the population. There are more guns than people.
Right. Now, here's the thing about this nation that people always want to gloss over and look past. Every time something happens to this nation where we feel like we have to respond in violence, take for instance, what happened in Hawaii when we got bombed in Hawaii?
You talking about Pearl Harbor?
Pearl Harbor. So we get bombed in Pearl Harbor, right? Yeah. Now, Pearl Harbor is a military station. So if there was a war, that would be a target for somebody to go after.
Right.
What we do is we bomb a whole country.
Yeah.
We drop Hiroshima. A whole country. Now we're talking kids, grandmas. That wasn't a military spot. That was a whole country where families were living. And we gotta look at who we coming from and say, that's who we are. That's what this country is. So before you start saying Baltimore, Chicago, St. Louis, we got to look at those areas and wonder what's going on. No. Let's start with, first of all, let's look at what America is first. America is a country that settles any beef with violence, and not just regular violence to the utmost that you can get. I'm wiping you out.
Yep. I'm going to bring back my culture crew. Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. Iman Heath, who is an entrepreneur and activist. Lise, what's your take of this latest data coming from the CDC that gun deaths is the leading cause of death for young people, especially between 1 and 19?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily surprising, given the fact that for the last couple of years, because they said that gun ownership has gone up over the last couple of years between the 2019 to 2021, which is what happened. Fear. It was a bunch of fear being drummed up, and that's basically what you see in a lot of the areas where you see more of the gun violence. You have fear, stagnation, and despair. That's really what happened. So people were feeling despair and they were feeling stagnation, and then there was all this fear coming from the media. So it's not necessarily surprising, but also the reason why car accidents used to be the number one cause of death for people in that age group, it is no longer the case, because they put things in place to make sure that they can protect children from dying in car crashes, like seatbelts and airbags and things that, traffic lights and things that would slow that down. Now we have gotten to a place where we need to find a way to slow down the access of guns to young people and people in general, when we have I saw the statistic that was put up there, like 400 million guns and 393 million of them are in the hands of civilians. That's a problem. So we do need to find a reason. Why do people feel the need that they are unsafe? Now, I'm not advocating for getting rid of the Second Amendment. I think you should be able to have that. It was in the Constitution. But we do have states in this country, 32 of which, where you don't need to be concealed. Like you can conceal a weapon, and you have 2 of which you don't even need gun safety at all. So we have all of these things in place, and it's getting worse and worse and worse as the years go on.
Hey, Darnell, talk to us about the work that Ceasefire does, especially within the inner cities of America. I mean, I know that there are Ceasefire programs in Baltimore and in other places, but what makes that work so special and unique?
So we base this work off of love and life affirmation. Because the first thing you have to do is people have to understand that they got to love themselves first. Because I can't govern what everybody else does. I just got to start governing with what I do first. So if I could find peace within myself, if I could find love within myself, then I can give that to other people. So what Ceasefire does is it's basically a premise of every Ceasefire weekend that we have events that we call life affirming events, where people can go to all these events across the city where fun is being had, education is happening, kids are having fun, grandmas are coming out and living and being in their neighborhoods. And what we're saying is everybody go to these events, because if you're going to these events that's fostering peace and love and nonviolence, then I don't know if you had violence in your mind. If you go to a place that's talking about peace and love, you're not going to want to be violent anymore. And then you're also going to want other people to do the same thing, because it's something about the change in your heart that says, let me see if I could try this peace thing. So we try to push it to schools. We push it to churches. We push it to businesses. And the thing about it is we don't govern we don't say how you should do peace. We say, however you feel peace and nonviolence and love is in your area, that's how you celebrate it. And if you want to celebrate it and you want to make it an event, let us know, and we're going to put it on our calendar so people can come to your event and get this peace and love. One of the things that we try to do is we try to instill other practices to people on how to be violent. So take mediation for example. We feel that mediation between two people is really a forgotten art in Baltimore City, when you can just talk it out. When you can understand other people's feelings and values and you can hear them, a transformation happens at a table. When I became a mediator, I used to sit and watch other mediators do what they do. And when I finally got a chance to do it, I sat at this table, Farajii, this is my first mediation. I'm sitting at a table. These cats is going at it. They yelling, because that's one of the first parts. What are you here for? So they yelling, going back and forth. And then one person said, if you wouldn't have said this and blah, 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 because that hurt my feelings. And it stopped. And the guy said, wait a minute, hold, wait. What you just say? He said, that hurt my feelings, what you said. He said, had I have known that that's how it made you feel, I'd have never said that. And it broke the whole tension. And you know, in about 5 minutes, they were shaking hands and hugging. We didn't get through the whole mediation. But these were two people that were prepared to kill each other and had a chance to sit down and hear each other out.
So now, you're talking the power of the mediation is to show the humanity of both sides, of both parties.
Right. It shows humanity. And I was reading that article where, and she brought up the point where the sister brought the point where she said things were put in place to stop the car accidents, you know, with seat belts and the way the kids are strapped in, and America put those things in place. My question is, if you see this happening in our cities and all these people are dying, America, what are you prepared to put in place to stop that? Or to help stop that?
Big question. And I think to Iman, I want to get your take on this, because I think that's a huge question. And you got to ask yourself, is America really serious about stopping the violence in this country? Is the government serious, or from the federal all the way down to the local? Are we really serious about stopping violence in this country, or is that just something that we think we should say but not willing to do?
We, as far as civilians, may feel that way. We as civilians may want to push that message, but guns bring the government money. Guns bring America money. Gun is a money thing. So until guns stop bringing in money or stop circulating the money, it's not going to stop. America is a business. It's that simple. The government is a business. It's that simple. So until that dollar stops from the benefit of guns, it's not going to stop. They'll try to put things in place to say, hey, let's raise the age till you got to be 25 to get a gun permit. Or they can make the upkeep of your gun. You have to have triple locks instead of just 2. Or you have to have the bullets in the basement and then have the gun in the attic. Sure. However, you still have access to those guns. Because, again, it's all about money. It's monetary. America is a business. That's it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's you know, and every time there are big issues like this, you know, Lise, Iman, and Donnell, when we see this, one of the things that we can't legislate are people's attitudes about one another, people's view about circumstances, right? Like that's, and I say this all the time, stop telling people you're going to stop gun violence unless you start telling people about an alternative solution. Stop emphasizing the death and start, like you said, Brother Donnell, affirming life. And I think that is the part of and I'm talking about culturally, especially within the Black community. We don't have to go down all of the dynamics of how violence has become a part of our community, Black communities across this country. We don't have to talk about that. We need to talk about how do you live in peaceful communities, because if there is a model of mediation, if there's a model of constructive dialogue, if there's a model of a community that lives in peace, I think Black folks in this country, we would be interested in that model. I think we're tired of it.
Very tired.
We tired of it. We tired of Ray, and we tired of Pookie. We tired of all of the little dudes running around. We tired of it. We don't want to see them in prison. And here's the thing, Brother Donnell, and I want to get your take on this. We don't want to put them in prison because we know that that's another, you know, trauma-inducing situation. But you tired of it.
Right.
So how do you reconcile those, you know, those two realities?
So one of the things that we do, one of the first things we came up with when we started the Baltimore ceasefire movement is we came with the hashtag Don't Be Numb. And the reason why we said that is we had to jolt people back into feeling and seeing how it felt to see what you saw. Because what happened is they were seeing murder on TV so much that when you turned on the TV and you look at the news, it was like, oh, somebody else died and it's whatever. And it became so numb to it that they stopped thinking about what can I do as a person to try to stop it. So we had to start jolting people back into, no. We need you to see exactly what's going on in your neighborhoods and on your streets. So then you can actually go, wait a minute, this is not right. This is not cool. And when people started seeing, oh, wait a minute, I know Ray, and I know Ray doing this. I don't want to squeal on Ray, but I know what I can do. I can go to Ray grandmama, and I can say, hey, look, you know Ray out here doing this stuff. I'm going to need you to talk to your son. I'm going to need you to talk to your grandson. I'm going to need you to talk to your nephew. Because the whole stop snitching culture totally destroyed a part of Baltimore because people were just so scared because families were getting firebombed and people were getting dealt with and people's family members were getting killed that people just weren't saying anything. But as somebody said, I don't know exactly who it was, when you make a change or you want to make a change, there are going to be some times where some people are going to have to take that hit in order for a change to be made. And Iman, she touched on something when it comes to something that the country did that made America stop and have to say, hold on, wait a minute, we got to do something about this. King showed us what happened. The Selma bus boycott, that hit the pockets of Selma. And they had to go back to King and say, wait, hey, we need your people to get back on the bus because we losing money. Money is what spoke. And what needs to happen is, and I don't know how it's going to happen, but when somebody in America of influence actually influence people to say, we're going to stop spending money at these malls. We're going to stop buying these big expensive cars. We're going to stop buying these tennis shoes. We're going to stop doing all of that until you show us how to invest in the city, in the violence, in the homelessness, in the joblessness, until America really says we're going to put money to this, we're going to stop giving y'all our money. And that's when they're going to start listening. But until you can hit those pockets in that bottom line, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen.
Hey, Brother Donna, we gotta stop right there. But I think the points that you bring up, the points that Lisa and Iman bring up, I think that's the direction we need to go. And it's unfortunate, to Iman's point, I understand exactly what you're saying, but it's still unfortunate that in order to speak the language of this government and policy leaders and industry leaders, like from the National Rifle Association to the gun makers, you got to put people's lives, you got to quantify people's lives. You got to put a dollar sign on, if you don't stop doing this, this is how much money you're going to be lost, versus saying, if you don't stop doing this, this is how many people are going to be lost.
Right.
And it's sad. It's so sad that we're still living in a country, as Dr. King said, where he said that, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. And it's sad that we're still living in a country that even when the right thing is right there in front of you, you still choose the wrong path.
Still choose the wrong path.
It's sad. Donnell Wharton, appreciate you, brother, co-founder of the Ceasefire, Baltimore Ceasefire movement. How can people get more information about that work?
So we have our website, BaltimoreCeasefire.com. Please visit there. You'll see everything that we do, all of our events. We have a ceasefire weekend coming up in May. We always do it on Mother's Day weekend because we want to honor the mothers and fathers of people who honor the mothers and fathers who've lost kids to violence. We're on Instagram, Baltimore Ceasefire 365. We're Baltimore Ceasefire 365. We're on Facebook, Baltimore Ceasefire 365. Come and check us out. Everything that we do, everything that all our apparel, all of our events, our ceasefire schools, our ceasefire churches, everything. The sacred space rituals that we do, which I think is a phenomenal, where we go to the site where somebody was killed and we pour love and light into that site where somebody was killed, to make sure that name always gets spoken positively, except that aside from that being the last place where violence was in their life. We do that every time somebody dies. And
I have a quick question.
That's just what we do. We do it 4 times a year, but 365, we're doing the work every day, trying to save a life day by day.
We're going to pull up this website, and Iman, we're going to get to your question really quick, but just wanted to put it out there. Brother Donnell, ceasefire is a national movement. It's not just related to Baltimore. Is that correct?
It started in Baltimore, but if anybody wants to adopt the Baltimore ceasefire model, just let us know. We're sending you logos and everything.
Gotcha.
Because we want everybody to live.
I hear that. Iman, yes, ma'am. What's your question?
Quick question. Just want to know, how can people be a part of ceasefire? How can people jump on board to support ceasefire? Besides spreading the word, how can they actually get their foot in the door and get their hands dirty?
So the thing about it is, we call it a self-determination movement, because the movement is not ours. It belongs to the city. So if you decide that you want to be a part of Baltimore ceasefire, whatever you consider being peaceful and nonviolent, like, it could be as grand as some people do, as grand as a whole basketball tournament. And some people do it, I'm just going to pull up my grill and put some hot dogs and hamburgers on it and hang this ceasefire poster up. And if people come by, I'm going to give them a hot dog and say peace and Baltimore ceasefire. Whatever it's self-determined on what you see peace and nonviolence in your life to be and how you want to celebrate.
Gotcha. That is awesome. That is awesome. Donnell Wharton, co-founder of Baltimore Ceasefire Movement. Brother Donnell, thank you so much. And look, we'll bring you back as we for the Mother's Day weekend. We just want to put it out there. We'll bring you back on, dear brother, to talk to us about those activities. All right.
All right, we'll do.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's switch gears. Let's talk about what's going on with this idea of redemption. Can we truly allow a person to change? Can you really look past a person's past mistakes and accept them for the new person that they are in this day and time? Because we're finding out that we're seeing that past mistakes are often brought into the present moment, and it forces us to no longer allow people to forgive, to forget, or to be redeemed. We'll have that conversation up next. So stay with us. That's coming up in the second hour of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome to the second hour of today's show. Great first hour talking about everything from the latest developments in the Patrick Lyoya case to the fact that guns are now the leading cause of death for young people in this country. Man, oh man. Now we're at a place I wanted to switch gears and have a different conversation about the idea of believing that people can change. Yes, folks. This comes out of, I was doing some reading over the weekend, and I came across this op-ed written by this political essayist and author. Her name is Rebecca Solnit, and she wrote a piece about this whole idea. Why did we stop believing that people can change? And in her piece, she talked about how a friend of hers went to prison, and while he was in prison, he was able to change his life. He was able to make a complete turnaround, that, you know, all of his past trauma and drama was relieved. He was able to make a change in his life. He became, you know, from a killer to a Buddhist. I mean, he made this, and yet the state that he was in prison in still did not see him for the man that he was. I mean, for the man he was becoming, but for the man that he was. And so this author brought up this point of how we're still in this country, that people can make changes in their lives. They can discard old thinking and old ways, and yet the world will still see you as the person you used to be and not the person that you're growing to be. And so it brought me to want to have this same conversation with my culture crew today, because I feel like we're in a space right now. Everybody has a past. We probably said some things or done some things that we're not proud of, you know. And I want to bring them back into the conversation. Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast, Iman Heath, who is an entrepreneur and activist. But ladies, I have heard people say that they have no regrets. And you know what I say to those people? That's bullshit. That's
I'm one of
bullshit.
those people, though, Farajii.
I have no regrets. So you mean to tell me, and I'm going to say it to you then, Iman. That's bull. Don't tell me, oh, I have no regrets in life. You mean to tell me that all of your good decisions and bad decisions, bump it. Hell with it. I did it. It is what it is.
That's where I'm at about it. Like I've done some things differently. I mean, I could have. That's a
regret, Iman.
No, but I don't regret. But I don't regret the decision. Like if the things I've done in the past, good and bad. No. If I would have done those things, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm beyond.
But that's a regret,
especially mental to be where I'm at. So now I don't regret nothing. I did what I did, said what I said.
Yeah, I did what I did and said what I said. Until you get onto a public platform and then somebody dredge up some old stuff.
Hey, listen.
Right?
I hope they don't.
I'm just being real, right? Hey, look, Lise, I saw I think it was on TikTok, and this woman was like, for those who were born and for those who lived during the 80s and 90s and did stupid stuff, aren't you happy that you lived in the 80s and 90s? And it was like, I don't look, even me, I'm like, man, I shouldn't have made that decision. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, there's some things that you're just like, but if somebody were to look at you today and still make judgments about you based upon some decision that you did when you were 16, when half of your brain was developed, or 18, and they still looking at you like, oh, Iman, you that same little girl.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. So now you screaming it's not fair.
that's not fair to judge off the past.
No. Well, here's the thing.
Change.
So my question is, and this is why I thought this was interesting. Can we, in this country, do you think that we really give people the benefit of doubt? Do you think that we really do believe that people can change? At least, what's your take on that question?
I don't think that we believe that. I think that if we're talking about the prison system specifically, we don't create prisons that actually reform. So that's why I asked, like, what are they for? Like, what is the purpose of prison if it's not to reform someone who goes there? Because that's supposedly the point, right? So if you're punishing somebody, it's to reform them so that you can release them back into society. We do need to look at what that means. Because, like in Florida, if you are convicted of a felony, you can't vote. And should your voting rights be taken away from you forever? Like, those are some things that I think we should look back at. When are these crimes taking place? What types of crimes are taking place? And what is prison for? So if someone goes and they serve their time, and this is the time that was agreed upon in the court of law, why is it that we're still, having so many different adverse effects to them? Parole, yes. But when it comes to voting and actually having a say-so in the things that go on in my own life from something that I did when I was 20, speaking of your brain being developed, your brain doesn't fully develop until you're technically 20, fully developed until you are 25. So we do need to think about all of these types of situations that are actually happening and why people are doing what they do.
25? So you mean jokers are walking around here with half a brain?
I'm not gonna say half a brain, but the reason why the drinking age is 21 is because they thought that your brain fully developed at the age of 21. So when you drink, your frontal lobe or the cortex frontal lobe of your brain gets flooded with, the alcohol, the chloride in it, and they don't want it to kill brain cells. So they don't want a not fully developed brain to be able to have alcohol. But I guess if you have one, they said forget it. But yeah, that's it. That's my brief psychology for the day.
All I'm going to say is tell it to the parents that give the babies something to drink. All right, so here's the thing. All right, I want to share with you. All right, Keena, let's go to this first quote from Rebecca Solnick, the writer of this op-ed, when she said this, folks. She said, it's not just prisons and the criminal justice system. We as a society seem unequipped to recognize transformations, just as we lack formal processes other than monetary settlements for those who have been harmed others to make reparations as part of their repentance or transformation. But she's making a point that we have yet to, we're not equipped. We're not equipped to see the good in people. And Iman, I'm wondering, is that true? She's saying that, and you know, based on just looking at how we could talk about the Will Smith situation. We could talk about any situation dealing with personalities. We could talk about how we see celebrities and the crazy stuff that they do. Do you agree with that? Do you think that we are just not equipped as a society, as our culture, to not see a person change?
I think seeing the person's change has to start with the individual's trust. Like, for me to believe that you've changed, or for me to believe that you're a new person, it has to start with my level of how I trust others. I think it starts from at least early childhood. After constant disappointment, after disappointment, after disappointment from the same person or maybe different people, after a while, it's like, okay, I keep getting burnt by the same switch. So I'm going to stop flicking it, which is what? It could be trust. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe might, but to fully just believe you're this new person, it will be hard. So I think it depends on the person's trust personally in their experiences.
But here's the thing. Is it fair for us to expect other people to change and then we stay the same?
That's not fair.
I don't think it's fair, but I think we as people cannot, forgive someone else fully or expect people to change. Again, like Iman said, it has to do with trust, but I think it also has to do with the fact that we want people to be these perfect beings, except for ourselves. Like, it's okay for us to make mistakes, and it's okay. And I think when you go down this slope of redemption, and it also is who gets redemption? Who do we say it's okay? Because when you look at some people saying, like, we've seen some people put out some really homophobic tweets. We've seen people put out racist tweets, and they say, well, I've been, that's not who I was. That's not who I am now. That's who I was.
Right.
Are they to be forgiven? So I think that we can't say, well, you can forgive us, you can forgive me, but not them. Forgiveness should go all the way around. And I think in this country, you're right, we are not equipped to handle that, because if you forgive somebody, you do kind of have to have some peace within yourself, and most of us don't.
So hold on, Lise. What Lise was saying though, I can understand that part. So like, okay, can I forgive a person who at the age of 16 not killed, that might be a little too drastic, but caught some type of assault charge as a kid versus some pedophilia? There are things, let's be real, that it's just no matter what it is, you cannot come from.
I get
this
that.
Is a great area. This is
really well. Now here's the thing.
Agreed.
Wait a minute, hold on. I look. I mean, there are some things that you can't come back from,
like at all.
Right? Like, if you rape a woman, I can't personally. Yeah. Right, but I think, but I'm talking about things within reason, right? Things within reason, not the extreme behaviors or extreme violations. I'm just talking about things within reason. I think that when you're talking about giving people or allowing people a chance, or you trying to redeem, you can't be in that interaction or that relationship with that person without you changing yourself. You have, because even in the process of forgiveness, you have to check yourself, right? You have to be willing to start and trust again. You have to be willing to accept this person's apology again. Like, there has to be some changes. And to your point, Lise, I don't think a lot of us want to make those type of changes. You know what I mean? Because we want, and I mean, look, I know this might step on some people's toes, but our culture teaches us right now that the world should accommodate you. You don't accommodate the world, right? So everything, if it's like, if somebody doesn't quote unquote fit into your life, if they share a part of, if they say something that you don't agree with, you can do everything. You can block them. You can disregard them. You can look at them as inhumane. You can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But then if somebody thought you did the same thing, if you were that person, then you would want people to look at you, right? And I think that that's the problem. Like, we have this mirror that just looks from one side and not from the other side.
I agree with that. And just kind of taking it to really what her conversation was, about her friend who had gone through the prison system. When you look at the reentry statistics, it's like, it's very, 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 very startling. So I think like within a 3-year time span, roughly 40% of federal prisoners go back, 60% of state prisoners are rearrested. I think we also need to look at, because when it comes to change and getting forgiveness, you also have to have some things in place that would prevent the person from actually going back down that same pathway. What do we have? Because if you stop them from being able to get jobs, and if you have these types of offenses, then what do they do? Because a lot of people won't hire a convict, somebody who was convicted of anything. So then it becomes more tricky. So we do need to look at the people. Yes, they may be trying to build trust, but if you put somebody's back up against the wall, what are they supposed to do? So when we're looking at from that perspective, I think we do need to look at some of the reasonings of how we can make the system for those individuals who have been incarcerated better. But when it comes to trusting others, I think that, like you said, as people, it's hard for us to look on the outside in. And I don't know how we actually fix that, where we can give everyone grace, the grace that we want everyone to bestow upon us. Like, how do we give that and make sure that the world understands that everyone makes mistakes at some point in their lives, whether you regret it or not? Everybody makes a mistake at some point in their life.
I want us to bring up this other quote from this op-ed from Rebecca. Check this out, because and this is a little bit longer quote, but I think it speaks to what you just said, Lise. She said in her op-ed, "This belief in the fixity rather than the fluidity of human nature, or maybe in guilt without redemption, shows up everywhere, not just in the formal legal system that decides questions of innocence, guilt, and responsibility, but also in the social sphere, in which we render verdicts replete with both unexamined assumptions about human nature and prejudices for and against particular kinds of people and acts. Are you who you used to be?" That's one of the big questions. Specifically, are you the person who made that mistake, held that view, now regarded as reprehensible or ignorant, committed that harm years or decades ago? Most of us who came of age in the last century have changed our worldviews around race, gender, sexuality, and other key issues over the decade. The past decade in particular unfolded like an ad hoc seminar on these issues for those who chose to pay attention.
But this is what's wrong with cancel culture.
And then, wait a minute, I know, and that's true. And she said this, still, we often speak and treat one another as though each of us is the sum of all our past beliefs and actions, nothing added, subtracted, or transformed. I mean, I've and I had to bring it up, and I want people to just marinate on that, because that idea that people can't go through changes, and it's really, like, I hate, this is the part of the culture that I hate, right? The culture that, here's one of the messaging around this: accept me who I am, right? But suppose who you are is hurtful, offensive. Suppose who you are is reprehensible, right? Suppose who you are is a person that don't give a damn about other people. So we should be willing to accept that. And you can go through life to tell people, well, if you don't like me as who I am, that, oh, wait a minute, hold up. we're all supposed to evolve into a different place. Now, we're not going to evolve at the same pace, and we're not going, and we may not all evolve to the same place, but we are what they call human being. That means that there's a constant level of growth that's attached to our life, right? There's a constant level of edification that has to happen. And I think that at this point in our culture loves to emphasize stagnation. We love to emphasize just the me. We love to emphasize just the this idea that the world needs to cater to you.
Agreed.
And to Rebecca's point, like, human nature changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Human beings, we change. Like, circumstances will change you. Poverty will change you. Any sort of trauma will change you.
Unfortunately, due to my connection, I'm not sure if either one of you guys have said this, but we have to get back and looking at each other as human beings. We have to get back to humanity. Like, just, hey, you're a person, I'm a person. You're a spirit having a human experience. I'm doing the same thing. Grant people the mercy and leeway to make mistakes and be a human. Is not, we don't have a book to say, hey, do this, and you'll get this exact result. No. Then you have people who may be influenced by others or may look up to others and think this is the ideal way to do it when it's not. So we have to grant people that same mercy and grace that we want from everybody else as humans.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Lisa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And even when you said about change and humans are not always in the same place, and the take me as I am, it should actually be take me for who I am now. That flawed statement, even if you do that, because if you have a friend that hasn't changed, even for the good or the bad, from the time you're 18 to the time you're 45, you need new friends. Like, I mean, you still like Cheetos? Like, come on, we got to evolve. Like, at some point, you need people around you that are going to actually elevate and do better. And I think that one of the things, just kind of, and I'll end it there, when it comes to people changing and accepting new people and giving people the grace in order to make mistakes, we do have to understand that over time, if we want society to get better, the only way for you to get better is to make mistakes. If you make no mistakes in your life, get away from me, because you've learned nothing. So I don't want to be anywhere near you. So we do need society to understand that mistakes are a part of life, and there are nuances to who should be allowed back into your circles. And I'm not saying don't get got. So if your boyfriend cheats on you 157th time, I'm not going to tell you to say about 158, I can't believe it. No, believe it. He has showed you who he is.
Right.
And, don't allow people to hurt you. It's not even just about you accepting them and forgiving them, but if they're doing something you don't want and you don't trust it, move away from the circle. So I just wanted to make sure I said that.
No, that's a great point. And I think the other part of something you just said, which is, if people don't understand, like, you can't build community if you're not authentic within yourself first, right? We can't expect and I'm talking about our personal community, the folks that we know, our family and our circle of friends. And then, we go out into our neighborhoods. We can't talk about building community, having strong communities, especially within Black people's circles. We talk about, we need to have a strong community. That means that you need to be strong within yourself first. You need to understand what it means to have to be a part of a community, right? That it's not always about you. That the community interest supersedes personal interest, right? That being a part of a community requires a level of commitment to other people outside of your family. So, I mean, there is growth that's required to being a part of a community, to being a part of a society. And that is, I think, is a struggle for where we are in this country. Both Black and white and Latino and Asian Americans and folks across the board. I think that's a struggle because America loves individualism. America loves the I. We talk the we, but we love the I.
Mm-hmm.
We love the fact that we can say, I pull myself up from the bottom. I'm self-made, right? We love all of that. We love that story. We love that narrative. But the narrative about the we, the us, the them, we kind of frowned upon that. We frown upon that because we want to stand out so much, and that's our human nature. We want to be seen. We want to let people know that I'm here. I'm going to make my mark, and that's all human nature, which is why I think social media is so pivotal, because it taps into human nature. Social media teaches us that you are important. Here's a platform to show how important you are. And that's the human nature of us. That's why we love it. That's why we gravitate to those platforms, because it shows us, it speaks to our nature. But we ain't the only one on the planet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when we make mistakes or when we change and evolve, we have an expectation that people are going to give us, as you said, Lise, going to give us the grace, right? I don't want to be judged for what I said 20 years ago. Now, I hope that there is some growth. I hope there's some consistency. But if I said some dumb stuff 20 years ago, please forgive me.
Right? Have you seen the people that canceled somebody and got canceled while they was canceling? Like, it's the craziest thing in the whole world. You have to give people some grace.
You gotta forgive people. And the thing is, it's not just in the legal system or the criminal justice system. And going back to what Rebecca Solnit of this op-ed said, it's about us in this social space. Look, y'all know it and I know it, and everybody watching, we love to dredge up some dirt on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you dredge up dirt on somebody, you are digging a grave for yourself. Because that just shows you the type of character you have, right? I don't care about somebody who they people sleeping with and all that, man. I don't care about people's personal lives. I was always taught you can criticize somebody on their program, on their policy, but don't make it personal. Because why? What the good book say? We all fall short of the glory.
Yeah.
So once you get personal, then you start opening up that Pandora's box of like, oh, look how great of a human being that I am. And you notice when people start getting into that space, y'all notice as soon as somebody starts to pull up some personal stuff, the one that's pulling up the personal stuff, man, just wait a couple of days. And I mean, that's just a terrible thing of our culture. We just love dirt, man. We just love it to the point that we just always want to remind people of where the crap that they came from. Oh, you could be great, Lise. They'd be like, oh, Lisa's on TV. Lisa's doing that. But remember, Lise, when you was wild back in the day, girl? You'd be like, this mother. They see you, Iman. They be like, "Oh, Iman doing it real big. She running her own business." They be like, "But remember what Iman used to be? She used to love that marijuana, boy." It's always a joke who want to remind you of what you did. You know what I mean? Of your shortcomings, man.
Right. Right. Give people grace.
Give people grace, man. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about Viola Davis and her response to the critics that are not giving her no grace for her portrayal of Michelle Obama. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
All right, folks, speaking of grace and mercy, I wanted to talk about Viola Davis, who is having a phenomenal time right now being Viola Davis. If you haven't checked out her new special, Netflix special with Oprah, have y'all checked it out? And I'm bringing Lisa and Iman. Have y'all seen Viola Davis?
I've seen clips from it, and I've watched the show First Ladies.
Yeah. All right, so you've seen clips of her talking with Oprah?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Firstly, let me just say this. Like, Viola Davis is just super, super uber talented and beautiful. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she just has a very, very special soul. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I started watching a little bit of the Netflix special, and I was just like, I like her. You know what I mean? She's just like seems like a genuinely good person. Well, folks, apparently, and this is we talked about giving people a chance. She's been under fire for her latest portrayal as First Lady Michelle Obama in Showtime's anthology series, The First Ladies. She has been promoting her new memoir, Finding Me, and people have been highly critical of Viola Davis, who is one of the greatest actresses of our generation, I would have to say, hands down. But they've been critical of her performance as Michelle Obama, and much of it is based on what they call actors' choices.
She overdid the lip thing. She overdid,
and everybody says that she overdid the pursing of the lips.
Yeah, like way too much. Like Michelle didn't exaggerate her lips that much. Now, when she smiles, okay, cool. But every time she talks like that, like what? Like why you don't have to do that every time? So that was my only gripe about it. But other than that,
yeah, apparently people just didn't like the fact that that was just one of the big criticisms. Yeah. I went to school for acting, and I often think about when you take on roles. And she said this, and Viola Davis said this. She said it's almost impossible to portray a person that's one that is so well beloved, and then two that's still living.
Yeah,
like with Michelle Pfeiffer, and I forgot the other actress name that played in the show. Mm-hmm. You're talking about people that are dead,
right?
But now you're playing Michelle Obama, who is walking around, is alive. You know what I mean? So you're going to be very, very critical of that. And she said she just makes some choices. But in response to some of these critics, this is what Viola Davis had to say. Check this out. She put it out there. She said, how do you move on from the hurt from failure? When she said people always coming at you and being very critical about your work. She said, how do you move on from that? She said, but you have to. Not everything is going to be an awards-worthy performance. Critics absolutely serve no purpose. And I'm not saying that to be nasty either. They always feel like they're telling you something that you don't know. Somehow that you're living a life that you're surrounded by people who lie to you, and I'm going to be the person that leans in and tells you the truth. So it gives them an opportunity to be cruel to you. Lise, do you agree with that assessment?
I mean, I do. I think feedback is much more constructive because at least you're telling a person how to fix it. But when it comes to you being in the limelight, I think this is a part of the job. She said that too. Like, it's a part of the job. When you are acting, people are going to critique you. They're going to say, you know, you should have did it this way and that way and this way. But if you understand that most people will never act in their lives. They can tell you that, but it's hard for you to understand how you would do that without actually doing that. If you've never had to play someone or portray a character, especially like she said, a living character, because no one knows if Gillian Anderson is the one that played Eleanor Roosevelt, right. If that's maybe she doesn't quite talk like that, or maybe her teeth didn't quite look like that, or we don't know because none of those people, they're all dead. So nobody can say, hey, that's not how that's supposed to be. So I understand from her perspective how difficult that is. And I agree. Feedback, yes, but this is also a part of the job if you want to be a A-list celebrity.
So that's what she said. She said getting criticism, Iman, is what she calls occupational hazard. Right? Like that just comes up. It just comes along. Anytime you do anything in public, be prepared to be criticized.
Yeah, you can't
that's anything.
Everyone. Yeah, you can't satisfy everyone.
No.
At all. So they're going to continue to criticize her, but they have to understand also the pressure. Michelle Obama is like Michelle Obama.
I know.
Like it's Beyonce and then Michelle. So that's a lot to portray. Like I said, she's still alive. She's still her book tour. That was phenomenal. Everybody loved her. So it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. I know I couldn't play Michelle Obama. I know for a fact I couldn't imitate Michelle Obama. Even just in the way she talks and how she walks. Like, you have to study a person, literally study another human being and be that other human being as much as possible. That's a hard job to have.
I mean, look, let me tell you something. Acting is already hard enough. Acting a real life person is actually super, super hard. Mm-hmm. But then to get the pivotal moments, to really get those pivotal moments, it's going to be. And look, check this out. Y'all remember the movie Southside With You?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you see it, Lise?
Uh-huh.
When the brother that played Barack Obama, Parker Sawyer, he's in P Valley now.
Is he?
Yeah, he's in P Valley. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't hear.
All right, we can hear you now.
We can hear.
She
can't hear us. She can't hear us.
She can't hear us. I can't help Iman right now. I can't help her right now. We're gonna try to get her
very fluently.
She's good. Yeah, she's good.
We're gonna try to get your audio straight. But in the movie Southside With You, Tika Sumter played Michelle Obama, the young Michelle Obama. I don't remember Lise people grilling her as much as they're grilling Viola Davis for her portrayal.
Right. I think it's because Tika didn't necessarily try to embody Michelle Obama. She was just portraying Michelle Obama, where I think Viola Davis was trying to...
What's the difference?
So she was being Tika in the role of Michelle. So she didn't change her voice. She didn't change her, a lot of appearance about herself. She just was playing a role, where I think with Viola, it was more of, I want to really embody what it feels like in order to be Michelle. And those are the mannerisms that Michelle has. And Michelle Obama knows Viola Davis. So I think if she was upset by that, I think she would say, hey girl, wait a minute now. I don't be doing that all the time. But she didn't do that. And she actually got a chance to sit down with Michelle and talk to her. And even if you listen and you have watched the show, you can hear that Viola Davis, although her voice is deeper than Michelle, she's trying to even speak like her. Like her, you can hear that she's using the same vernacular, and she's tried to embody that character, and that's not what happened in the other film.
And it's interesting because it was reported by The Root. It was reported when Viola Davis was asked, what does Michelle Obama think of your performance? She said, quote, I don't have any personal contact with Michelle Obama.
Oh, I thought she knew her.
No!
I could have sworn they had been in the same place together at some point.
Lise, I thought the same thing. Then when I read that, I was like...
But even so, you don't think Michelle would have reached out? But even if that's the case, you don't think Michelle Obama... Right, she knows Oprah, but you don't think Michelle Obama would go in her DMs like, hey girl, hey... no. What? Like, I don't know. That's a no. Michelle can get, the president of the United States or former presidents can get phone numbers really scarily. Like, if they want your phone number, they can get it.
Oh, no,
so that's,
we know that. No, and I mean, look. It's not like Viola Davis is an A-list actress. Viola Davis is friends with Oprah. Oprah knows Michelle Obama. I was personally blown that she said she didn't have any personal contact with Michelle Obama. But not just from the vantage point of her being Viola Davis, but just also from the vantage point of acting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Having that like, hey Michelle, can I shadow you in your day for a couple of days?
Oh, you mean she should have like been directly underneath of her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think for the new edition, that new edition documentary, Bobby Brown and
that's what I was going to say. Literally,
I think it's different from shadowing Bobby Brown than the former first lady. I think it's a whole different scenario.
Hold on, Lise. I'm talking about just in terms of as an actress, as an actor. You know what I'm saying? Like Bobby Brown, and I forgot the young brother's name. He plays in Power now, but
he's really good too.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite characters in Power, actually.
I can't think of his name. Oh my gosh.
But we're gonna bring it up. But Bobby Brown taught him, like, yo, this is what happened. Like, he was on set when that BET New Edition movie was there. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying, from an actor's point of view, it's like if you got the person that you're portraying that's living, you're gonna sit down with them. For example, like a lot of times actors have to rely on footage. Like I remember Denzel Washington talking about this when he played Malcolm X. He had to rely on the footage. He had to get the cadence down because Malcolm had a very unique style of speaking. All of those things. So for Viola Davis to say, I don't have any personal contact with her, it was like blowing me away. I was like, wow,
I still think it would be more difficult because of all the Secret Service and all the things that Michelle is doing, that maybe they couldn't find the time to allow that to happen. I don't know. But you're right. Even when Jamie Foxx did Ray Charles, he did shadow him and he got a chance to like talk to him. I don't know if he shadowed him, but he did get a chance to speak to him directly before he passed away.
Right.
So maybe she should have did that and it would have changed the outcome of the way people, because I think people were looking at it like an insult to Michelle, and because there's so many tropes about Black women, and when you purse your lips, it's like this angry, mad Black woman like stereotype. And I think some people were offended by that. I wasn't offended by it because I actually like her on the show. I actually think she's doing an amazing job. But I think some people were like, girl, we got this whole mad Black woman thing. She was called an angry Black woman, which is something she talks about in the show and in her book. Why would this be the trait that you portray? And I think that's what a lot of people were upset by.
Can I call us out for a second? Like, just for a second. Black people, we are critical as hell of others.
Yes.
Like, we're the worst and hardest critics. Like, why why we can't give, like we just said, grace? Give people some grace. Give people some grace and mercy. I was thinking about how Disney. I'm thinking, why don't Black people have their have our Encanto and our Mona? Why don't we have that? Because I would be nervous to depict Black people in any kind of form because the nose is too big. Why the nose so big? The lips. Why they don't speak proper English? We don't talk like that. Like, come on.
Wait a minute. Encanto did have Black people. They just are.
Oh no. I'm not
Afro
saying
Latina.
they did anything wrong.
I'm about to say I like the Black people in Encanto. Wait, look. Let me just say. Listen. Let's look.
Her determination. Her determination and perseverance.
Right. Let me. And why is her screen upside down? But here's the thing. To the point of representation, I think it's just simply because we're in a space right now. One, that we have the space to criticize, right? Whereas before we just had to take it. Now we have a space to say something. So I think that's one thing. But then I think the second thing is like we want it to be perfect, not knowing that the people that are always producing this content, they don't always have us at the table. It's not just white people. It's everybody. It's Black people can be in the room and they have their view. Everybody has a view of people and culture. And I think that's the thing. Like, for example, you bring up, she brought up, Black people in Disney films. Disney put out a movie called Soul. It was about Black jazz music. And they had to go through the whole process of, talking to jazz artists, Black jazz artists. They had to go through the process of making sure that the characters look like they belong in a jazz show. I mean, there is a lot of time spent on that. And I think that it's just about us wanting to be represented properly on film. Now, I mean, look, you gotta trust your artists too. You have to trust your artists. And I think, to Iman, that's to your point, you have to trust your artists. Viola Davis hasn't done anything in her catalog of work to depict Black women less than. She comes to the table with a catalog, with a body of work to show that she takes great care and she's sensitive and time in her artistic choices of portraying characters. So we rip her apart like she a brand new, actress. Yeah. It's like Viola Davis is
like
played
she don't have business.
She played in Fences, right?
Like she didn't kill How to Get Away with Murder.
I mean, come on. She killing people with the style and on camera. She killing people.
Right.
Look, I'm with y'all both though. Give the sister some grace, man. Like, that was an artist's choice. Let it ride like that. Like, unless Michelle Obama comes out with a statement and say Viola Davis has portrayed me the worst in history, which I doubt she will do.
Not publicly. She might come to over, but not publicly.
She might call a homegirl and say, "Listen, I don't know what she was doing, but check this out." She might call a homegirl.
She might call a homegirl.
She's tasty.
All right. Give the sister some grace. All right, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we got some things and trends posting doing the most. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, time for your favorite segment. We bring you up to date on stuff that is happening in the metaverse. we have to talk about it. All right, look, ladies, I don't know if y'all saw this. Just very quickly, Chris Rock's mom finally came out to say something about the slap. Mm-hmm. She said when he slapped Chris, he slapped me. He slapped all of us. Now, Rosalie Rock, who is a author, she's a motivational speaker. She was just making the point that she's expecting even harsher punishment on Will Smith for the slap.
I don't think there will be any harsher punishment. I mean, he's already faced so much backlash. Movies have been canceled. He can't go to the Oscars. I don't think anything else is going to happen on a Hollywood standpoint, and unless Chris Rock can find a way to sue him, I don't see anything, unless maybe he's planning a lawsuit. I don't see anything else that would happen. But mommy looked good, because Chris Rock is 57. Mommy looks amazing.
Mom did look amazing. Rosalie, but it was, Miss Rock. She said, "Hey, he slapped all of us." And that, there she go right there. Mom looks good. She got grown sons.
Yes.
Everything. So she made that point. She also made the point that when your wife gives you the side eye, you felt like you had to do something. Like, Mom, come on, mother.
Yeah, leave it be. Leave it be, mommy. Leave it be. Let it die. Let it die.
Black mothers ain't gonna let that slide.
No, black mom gonna let that slide. But you know what? It was in Baltimore here where Chris Rock gave.
That was such a good show.
More response to it, where he said that he's still recovering, or healed from the nicks and bruises, but he's good.
That was a good show
while performing here in Baltimore last week.
Yes. Good show. Great show.
Yes. Hour and a half worth of, and that was it. He said at the top of his set, and then he did his regular hour and a half set, and that's what it is. So we will see. But I know the Rock family they still trying to keep that gravy train going. Okay, Farajii. Today it was announced that Vice President Kamala Harris has officially gotten COVID-19, folks. Have you heard about this? As of right now, the vice president, she was certainly vaccinated and she was double boosted as well, but she has gotten the virus, and she hasn't been considered to be in close contact with the president. And so she put out a statement saying that she tested positive for COVID-19. She has no symptoms and will continue to isolate and follow all the CDC guidelines.
So you're telling me she has the vaccine and the boosters, but still got COVID?
Look, that's the time. That's the place we are with this vaccine. That's all I can say.
Right.
But that's the same thing with the flu vaccination, and pretty much every other. It stops you from dying and getting more severe, not necessarily stops you from getting it. That's why the flu and the different strains.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this today. Let's just go. What you got, Farajii? What you got? What you got, Farajii?
I'm just saying, like, that's I was just letting
we not, because I know we gonna go down a rabbit hole. We gonna go down a rabbit hole. And
look at Iman was like, Iman brought the shovel.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
I'm gonna start digging right now, Farajii. Is this the time? Right now? I'm gonna dig this hole, Farajii.
It's like, no.
We gonna all jump in.
I was just asking the question.
You were just asking.
Like,
look, I'm just reporting. I'm just all I'm doing. Just reporting.
I'm just asking questions.
Just reporting the news. All right, let's move on. All right. Yesterday, folks, and final piece for Trends Posting doing the most. Yesterday, if you did not remember, 20 years ago, we lost one of our famous and most beloved artists, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, folks. Y'all remember Left Eye?
Yeah.
20 years. I cannot believe it's been 20 years since she was killed in that accident.
Yeah, we lost so many people, like Aaliyah, and it's like when you look at how long it was, like, wow, I can't believe it's been that long. But yeah, she was such an integral role in girl groups, especially Black girl groups. and what she was able to do. So rest in peace to Left Eye. Rest in peace to her.
She was even on the road to like enlightenment, and she was opening up herself to Dr. Sebi and learning about natural ways to heal yourself. Like she was elevating, and it's unfortunate.
No, she definitely was elevating. She definitely was elevating, and I just can't believe that. I remember hearing about her. I mean, 20 years ago, April 25th, you're talking about what, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, wow, time just flies by, man. And the crazy is like when you listen, like I love TLC. I'm a TLC fan, right? Crazy, Sexy, Cool.
Yeah.
By far one of the greatest albums of all time, right? By a girl group or anybody, right? But it's just mind blowing that we're talking about her 20 years later. And the one thing I do love about hip hop is that we've gotten much better in remembering people.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That people don't die. Like we were I think forever in a day we continue to talk about like Biggie and Tupac and all of those guys, but I'm so happy that we still acknowledge so many artists. Somebody is going to remember. I remember Lisa Lopez. I remember Aaliyah. I remember all of these folks that just, very short time span on earth, but they made such a great impact on music and culture. You know what I'm saying? She was Left Eye was a young woman. You know what I'm saying? She was just a really young woman. She had some trials and tribulations, but I think that when we look back on her life, it's more good than any of the bad or any of the, the controversial stuff. So
absolutely.
I just wanted to put it out there. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, man, may you continue to rest in peace and power. We will never forget you. But she was the heart and soul of TLC. And I know Chili and T-Bars, that's their sister, man. They will never forget that girl. They would never, ever forget her.
Ever.
Yeah, that's putting Band-Aids on and everything.
Right.
Before Nelly.
People still dress up as Left Eye for Halloween.
Say it again, Iman.
I said people still dress up as Left Eye for Halloween still, so she's never gonna die. That's
not even just for Halloween. There's people that's how, man. Look. Left Eye was a trendsetter, and you remember TLC when they first came out. They really like set the tone because they were a black all girl group that were like super dope. They embodied Crazy, Sexy, Cool, and it was like, you know what I'm saying?
They made black people aware of sexual health, especially in the early 90s during the AIDS epidemic. And that was controversial. So I big ups to them for doing that. You remember the condoms in the video and all of that?
Yeah,
definitely trendsetters. Yeah,
I was them, and then, they fall in the same line as Salt and Pepper. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like those groups don't get enough props for what they've done for hip hop and what they've done for the culture. But I can't think of any girl group right now that can match what TLC brought. And I'm not saying that to throw shade. Like there's been 702.
It's facts, Farajii. It's facts. It's just facts. The females not rapping how
they're not, and they're not rapping, they're not singing, they're not just being the type of women that TLC was taking to be. How you go from, being like this, like condoms on your stuff to like, once you get to like, red light special.
Yeah.
You're showing a sexy side of me. I mean,
right.
I couldn't even watch that video when I was young. I was like, man, woo, Chili, woo.
Right.
I was a Chili fan, man. I was
me too. Love me some Chili. Oh my goodness.
Fan. When Usher came out and said I had Chili's baby, I hated Usher. I was like,
not hating Usher.
I was hating Usher. Anyway, all right, that's all we got for Trends Posting Doing the Most. Lise, thank you so much, sis, for joining us on Tuesday. We truly, truly appreciate you. If Iman comes back, I'm gonna have to thank her. So Iman's been having connection issues. But we thank you so much, Iman, and we thank y'all both for being so good for the culture. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us. Make sure that y'all continue to show y'all love and support. So many of you have been checking in on our chats on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Also, we want to thank our special guest, Darnell Wharton, co-founder of the Ceasefire Movement of Baltimore. If you want to get more information, just check them out at the Baltimore Ceasefire 365 to get more information on how you can stop the violence in your community and be a part of the peace process. Of course, we're going to continue to implore you to continue to support us here at Black Star Network. Make sure you do your part at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app, tell your friends and family about it, and we need your financial support. If you can't support us financially, make sure that you put our videos out there, share them, let people know that we are on, we rocking and rolling and doing all the great things that we're doing. And most importantly, we're doing it in an unapologetic, unfiltered way to celebrate, to inform, and to keep you around about our Blackness. So you can find that all at blackstarnetwork.com. Folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank you. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered at the 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.